Okay, the 7 for this class wasn't planned, but I figured to teach something today. We should learn together. Okay, let's bring up the text. We'll move if I bring in from Chai Elul Sicha. We're holding the third Sicha. The Rebbe was talking about the idea of cheshbon and nefesh that we have to make an Elul. Everyone has to make a cheshbon and nefesh, an evaluation of how the year went, especially the 12 days from the 18th of Elul, including the 18th of Elul being the first day, which corresponds to the 12 months of the year. And Chai Elul is the day which, first of all, we have koiches from the Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov to make a cheshbon and nefesh and make the resolutions, which is primarily the ideas of Ahavas Yisrael, Ahavas Hashem, and Ahavas HaTorah, love of a fellow Jew, love of God, love of Torah. And also that you have to make a cheshbon nefesh for the month of Tishrei and Chai Elul. And what's the Rebbe's cheshbon nefesh? The Rebbe also has to make a cheshbon nefesh, and even more so after the Histalkus, after the passing. And what is that? The brachas that he promised the Klal Yisrael, Chassidim, Rashana Tov Musukah. So it comes 12 days left to the end of the year, Chai Elul, and the Rebbe has to see, did he fulfill all his vows and all his commitments and all his assurances to Chassidim? So the Rebbe continues, it's known, Shebe Elul, Shmoi Shel Chodesh HaCheshbon, the name of El, which is the name of the month of evaluation. Al avodah t'chol hashana, that we have to make a cheshbon, we have to make a calculation on how the past year has gone. Miramazim b'harash teves shel kol inyan avodah. We find in Elul itself, it has the Rashi Teves of the 3 pillars of avodah, which is Torah, avodah, milos chasadim. Torah, davening, and acts of kindness. Elul is the Rashi Teves, like we know, ani l'daydi v'daydi li. I'm to my beloved's to me. That's primarily avodah, which is tefillah. Kav havodah, that's the pillar of avodah, service. Kalaimer zal, as it's brought down, what is considered service of the heart? Zu tefillah, it's prayer. Elul is also the Rashi Teves, which is part of the commitments that we're learning now, the laws of the Talmud of Megillah, is it says about giving gifts to the poor. So it says, ish l're'eyu, Matanis l'avyanim ish l're'eyu, and then it says umatanis l'avyanim. So it says meshal chamanis ish l're'eyu. So you take ish l're'eyu umatanis l'avyanim, a person to his faith, to his or her friend, you should give gifts to the poor. That's both idea of tzedakah, charity to the poor, and gifts to people that need help. Sometimes the kindness is not just for charity; it's also to get a person a short loan if a person needs to get started, etc. The Elul, and also Elul is the Rashi Teves, ina liyadi v'samtilach, that I created a place for the person to run, which is referring to the City of Refuge. Shenemar Bari Miklat, it's talking about the City of Refuge. Shrem is a Torah, the Rebbe is going to explain why the words of Torah called it. Torah is a place where a person could find refuge. I was speaking to Yid yesterday, he told me that where does he find true simcha in his life when he learns Torah? So it's the words of Torah capture a person, grab a person, protect a person. It's a safe space for a person. The Rebbe says we can explain what is an Ari Muklat and why is it connected to Torah? The idea of Ari Miklat, the City of Refuge, or the word Miklat is not really refuge. It's really to be koilet, to gather in. Where a person who killed someone by mistake is able to find protection there. If you didn't plan on doing it, then God's made a place for you to keep protected from the goyal hadam, from the person who seeks your blood. The Rebbe explains. So what's this have to do with Ari Miklat? What's this have to do with Elul? The Rebbe says when it comes to the nations of the world, is there's a concept of punishment called prison. The Havdil, not to compare Torah to civil law, is Nemar Kihichach Maschem and Torah is the true wisdom and understanding amongst the nations. If it means you really want to understand, real understanding and wisdom, you find that in Torah specifically. Nevertheless, Torah doesn't find it has such a punishment. There's no such punishment as prison time in Torah. The keeper, there are times where you close a person, whether it's a place where a person ends up dying, but it's not that you're being punished, you have to sit in prison. It's part of a process of putting a person to death or something short term, but it's not like you did a sin. We don't think we're not concerned about anything else more then you have to pay your dues for doing your sin, which is sitting in prison. It means you sit in prison for your sins. In Torah, they only have it as a way preparing it for something that's going to be different, but not that the punishment itself is going to prison. But why does the nations have this concept of prison and Torah doesn't? The Goyim, the nations, only have one world. They only think about this world. This world. This world. A person lives 70, 80 years. The days of a person, and if you have Gvuris, 80 years. The max a person lives is 120 years. That's your life in this world. If you're going to sin and blemish and go off the way, when you're hurting the world, the only world that exists. So they take the person, so they imprison the person. Not just as a punishment, also to prevent the person from continuing to do damage. Even though by putting a person in prison, you take away their freedom to do what their purpose in this world is. They weren't born to go to prison. Therefore, the person no longer can be accountable for reward or punishment because I don't have the ability to do anything. I'm locked in prison. A person's locked in prison. When you put a person in prison, those years that the person's in prison, specifically the person remains the rest of the years in prison. It's not possible to fulfill the mission of why they were created. The Rebbe says a person goes to prison, you lose your human identity. So why do they do it? Because we have no choice. Not because we want to do it. There's no choice. We know that we're taking away your freedom. We know we're taking away your ability to change and to do what you have to do in this world, going forward. But we don't know if you're going to do it or you're not going to do it, or if you're going to also continue doing harm. And therefore, even though we have to be concerned with your freedom, and we have to be concerned with your ability to perform your mission, but you're one person, there's a majority of people. And there's too many people getting damaged by your ability to be amongst us, therefore you have to be put into prison. Therefore, the majority wins over the individual. Although we're taking away from the individual his or her opportunity to live and to be a person, but the majority comes first. Torah doesn't recognize that. We're not to compare Torah to civil law, but if we want to compare, it's a Torah of life and a Torah of kindness. It's good for heaven and good for creation. It's not possible. In Torah, there's no such thing as one person should have to sacrifice on behalf of a second person. One thing should have to sacrifice for a second thing. We can't even hurt an individual because we're surely hurting that person by putting them in prison to prevent the possible damage that's going to happen to the majority. The Torah, as it's brought down in the revealed parts of Torah, everything has a source in Nigla. The law is that when do we go after the majority? Is if they're on the move. But if you're both established, so it doesn't make a difference if there's 1 and 9. If it's kavua, if it's established, then it's 50-50, and there's no more majority. Torah doesn't cause damage and doesn't look to punish just for the sake of punishment. Anything that's in Torah is about fixing. And if it comes to a sin that gets punished, it's a fixing of the sin. It's not because you're punishing the person for doing something wrong. There's no such thing as punishing someone just to sit in prison as a punishment. Because it has to be a tikkun. Torah doesn't recognize this as a fixing. It's not possible when the Torah is going to accept that concept, putting someone in prison, even if it's on the sake of the possibility the person may do damage, and to prevent that. Because Torah doesn't punish, but Torah fixes, and this is not fixing for the person. A person has exact days that's been given to them. Every person has been allocated from the heavenly court a set time. God knows what this person needs to do, he or she, and gives them enough days to accomplish it. And the person lives out those days. Therefore, every moment of a person's life has to be utilized to fulfill this mission and this shlichus that you were sent on. this job and this mission that you've been set, that you've been put into this world for. It's not possible to punish a person to imprison them. That's going to prevent a person from doing what Hashem decided this person has to do. Whatever the situation is, even if a person sins, and damaged, but over went off the way. You can't say, well, I'm a sinner, so what could I can't fulfill my mission. No, every minute that you're alive, you have a mission to fulfill, notwithstanding if you sinned. And if you have questions on God, it's not your business to ask questions. That's an expression. It's not your place to ask on God. As the Rebbe, the fifth Rebbe said, Eden, his soul's in heaven. We don't know today, especially, what a person's job, he or she, is in what they have to engage in mind. A person shouldn't say, well, I'm a sinner, I'm a horrible person, I've done harm, there's no way I could bring any good to the world. So if notwithstanding of your situation, a mitzvah comes to you, you got to do it. It's not your place to make an evaluation. How could I do one halacha in the laws of the Choshen Mishpat that deals with the laws of business? I didn't go to shul. You want me to go do a mitzvah here, but I didn't go to shul. I didn't do it. Aruch Chaim opens up and says, you wake up, you go to shul, you go to keep kosher. I don't keep kosher, I don't keep Shabbos, I don't keep Yom Tov. So who says I have to do this other mitzvah? It doesn't work like that. You have a mitzvah, now you have to do the mitzvah. If one may ask the question, what about the death penalty? We have a death sentence in Torah. So there says, why is that different? You don't kill someone because of the public. That's part of this person's fixing. This individual needs to be put to death for this person's his or her fixing. We're not holding back. He's not living and being held back to do anything. When the Torah and the heavenly court rules for this person that there's no reason for this person to live anymore. He no longer has a tafkid. His job has been taken away. Whether that means that initially he only had these days, or because of the sin, he no longer has the job. The Torah says, if the Torah says this person needs stoning or beheading, whatever you have, whatever the death penalty means, then there's no longer a mission for him or her to complete. Was that a movement from this that Rebbe says understood? So what's the point of this? What's the Rebbe trying to make a point? That sitting in the city of refuge, if a person kills by mistake, right, manslaughter, it's not an imprisonment. Even when the goyal hadam, the avenger, the blood avenger, the family member that has the mitzvah to avenge the blood that you spilled, the person spilled, even if it was by mistake, that's the mitzvah. And they can kill you if you're not in the city of refuge. You still have a job to do. And with that job is in the city of refuge. We can't put the person in prison, so the person can't perform Torah mitzvahs anymore. The person has to go into exile. Or it's a concept of exile. Like the Chinuch says, she'd start tzargolos. You have to go through the pain of exile. You can still do things in exile. It's just you don't feel comfortable. You're not in your home. You're not around the people that you love. You've been separated by your loved ones. From your birth land. At the same time, in the city of refuge, you have that opportunity to do whatever you have to do, like a free person. If a student needs a teacher, then the teacher goes into exile with the student, so he could teach him because he needs to have the student here, or needs to have their teacher. Even though you did something wrong, means you killed someone, even if it was by mistake. Obviously, you had a connection to it some way or another. Give all the services. So you can continue to learn Torah. So what's the point of it? The idea of what does it mean to run into a city of refuge, which we say now is Torah, right? We said is davening. Ish which is also Elul ish is Elul. That's tzedakah. Matanis giving gifts. What is Ori Miklat? Elul is the idea of Torah, which is the Ari Miklat. What does this mean? What does this mean of Avodas Adam? So the Rebbe explains like this. Let's just see how far we're going to go. We started late. I'll see if I want to finish the talk, if at all possible. If not, we'll have to stop in the middle of this talk. Okay, so it looks like with this talk, we're going to have to stop in the middle. We'll go a little further. There's like this. What is this meaning of Avodah? Ma'akin nefesh, what does it mean to kill someone? It's referring to a person who sins, who damages, blemishes, leaves the way of Torah. What did you do damage to? Ma'akin nefesh really means you hurt your soul. The literal translation is, we say ma'akin nefesh means you hurt a soul, meaning you killed someone by mistake. Ma'akin nefesh in the literal translation is you damage your own soul. You damage surely your godly soul by not performing a mitzvah or doing an avera. And you nefesh b'hamas, because even if you have an animal soul, your animal soul is supposed to do Torah mitzvahs. The godly soul always exists. You can't separate from God. The godly soul is always with God, even in the time of sin. But with regard to the animal soul, you damage the animal soul by doing a sin. So why is it called by mistake? If you sometimes you do a sin on purpose. We could say, the Torah testifies a person only does an avera when a foolish thought, you get into a foolish moment, you get trapped into a foolish situation. If not for the foolish spirit, so to say, you never have done the sin. The Jew doesn't do a sin. So really, we can't really judge the person as if you murdered someone on purpose. Right? It says shtus. If a person completes insanity, if you're insane, everyone agrees that insanity there's no death penalty, there's no punishment. This we get in some of the Talmud says. We've learned this many times. That a court that kills once in 70 years is considered a murderous court. Rebbe Kiva and Sanhedrin had lived in the days of the Sanhedrin, because the Sanhedrin didn't have capital punishment in their days. There was a Sanhedrin that didn't exercise capital punishment from the last 40 years of the Second Temple. No one would never be killed, never mind 70 years. Similarly, what kind of statement is that? If Torah says the person did a sin and all the conditions have been met, you have to kill the person. What does it mean that it's called a murderous court, or Rebbe Tav and Rebbe Kiva would never kill anyone? The Torah says you have to. A person who thinks God is going to be overlooking it, he's mevateri, he lets things slide, you're letting yourself slide. The answer is because the great sages, because they had the source of Torah, the illuminary Torah, as it is above. They have the Torah the way it is in Torah of kindness. Therefore, they'll be able to find a merit for someone. It's not possible that the person was mamish, amazed, that did it intentionally. Some way or another, they would find a merit for this person, that the person is deserving to be not to be punished. We had a person in our times, more recent in our times, the colleague of the Alter Rebbe, Rebbe Tzaddik Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, always found a reason to tell God that the Jewish people are not doing anything wrong, and it's not their fault, etc., etc. And the major merit we could find is ain't other way of it wasn't the person; it was the foolishness that got to the person. Nevertheless, up became. Low point and nice to the gamre. We don't say the person's totally gets off the hook. You're negligent by allowing the foolishness to take hold of you. So we consider a person who killed unintentionally. And one is, how do you fix this? You have to go to the Ari Mikla, to the City of Refuge. The Talmud teaches us. The Divrei Torah Shein Kolton, how do we the words of Torah take in a person is a place of refuge for a person. It says it's Betzer Bamidbar Bechsiv Basrei V'Zois HaTorah. It says Betzer is a city in the desert which had a city of refuge. And then it says V'Zois HaTorah, this is Torah. And Yishir Miklat Kol Torah, that Betzer in the Midbar is for Torah. That this is Torah, meaning that the Torah takes a person. Okay, let's just finish until Tess. Babi Rizah. What is the meaning? Apimam Rizah, based on what the rabbis have taught us. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Adam. God tells a person, Neiri, my light, biyadcha is in your hands. V'nercha, your light, biyadi is in my hands. What does this mean? Neiri biyadcha, my light is in your hands. What's the ma'or? What's the source of a luminary? It's Torah. I give you the Torah. Nechsiv kiner mitzvah Torah. Torah is a mitzvah is a candle, and Torah is the light, the fire. What is nercha biyadi? That your candle is in my hands. That's your soul. Nechsiv ner havaya. What's the candle of God? Nishmas Adam, the soul of man. Im shamartes neiri. If you keep my candle safe, the Torah is safe. Ani mashamas nercha. I'm going to watch your light. I'm going to protect you. Shemizem movement. This is understood. Shatorah hi chayes nefesh. Torah gives life. The Torah is healthy in the person's health. Not only that, it's not just for the godly soul, but it's for the animal soul. We know that the godly soul gives life also to the body, as it says in Tanya in the Kuntis Rachrein, the last part of Tanya. If a person finds refuge in Torah, the words of Torah shelter a person. And gives a person vitality. Nasa Tikkun the Makanef Shebishkaga fixes the foolishness within the person. That's why Ina Elu Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed Ina Liyadiv Samtilach, which is talking about Ari Miklat. When a person goes through the evaluation, how did the past year go? The whole Hashanah of the whole year. You're lacking here and there. There's negative going on in your life. At least it's at least called killing out, but you killed without purpose, but you killed. Don't fall into despair. I gave you 30 days to go into the Ari Miklat. You could hide there. Ari Miklat is only Torah, the words of Torah, Divrei Torah, Kolton, the words of Torah, gather and protect the person. Let's stop here. Next time we learn, we'll continue from Sif Tes. So it's a little fast, but something to learn of the Rebbe's Avot in the month of Elul.